Bible stories with details you may not have picked up on. Today we're going to be talking about the death and resurrection of Lazarus. Now, Lazarus was the brother of Mary and Martha. Now, some people think this is Mary Magdalene. I'm one of those people. Some people think there's an additional Mary. I'm not one of those people. And the reason why I think that's the Mary Magdalene is because Mary Magdalene is the one who got yelled at by Judas whenever she was anointing Jesus with the oil and wiping Jesus's feet with her hair. There's two different cases when that happened, once at the beginning of his ministry, once at the end. The first time was in the house of a Pharisee named Simon, and in that house of that Pharisee, the woman that was doing that was a prostitute, whereas the second time was right before Jesus died, and the woman that was doing that was Mary Magdalene, who was not a prostitute. Mary Magdalene was possessed at one time by 7 demons, but Jesus cast them out, she repented, and she was saved ever since. But in John 11, it literally tells us that Mary that is the sister of Lazarus, that she is the one who did that to Jesus' feet, which is why I'm going to say that is, in fact, Mary Magdalene. But so Lazarus got really sick, and so the sisters sent word to Jesus to say that Lazarus was sick. And when Jesus hears this, he says, "This sickness is not meant for death, but it is for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified by it." So a lot of people were kind of confused at that. It didn't make a lot of sense. And then it says that Jesus actually stayed in this location for another couple days. Time passes and Jesus says to his disciples that our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep. So come with me, we're going to travel and I'm going to go wake him up. At which point the disciples are like, "Why? No, don't wake him up. Like if he's sleeping, he's going to get better. He was sick, he needs to rest." So then Jesus has to plainly explain like, no, he died. See, whenever the Bible's referring to a saint that falls asleep, that means that they are going into a soul sleep. That means that they're dying, but whenever they die, they go to paradise. It's that part of Sheol that we discussed, the good part. This is where Jesus went when he died. This is why whenever he was on the cross and there were the 2 thieves that were yelling at him, one was just mocking him and the other was defending him, that one that mocked him said, like, "If you're really the Christ, why don't you hop off that cross and save both of us?" Then the other thief rebuked the first one and said, "Are you stupid? This is God. Like, you and I both deserve this, but he's done nothing wrong." Then he turns to Jesus and says, "Lord, please remember me when you come into your kingdom." Then Jesus said, "Truly, truly, I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise," in Paradiso, in the good part of Sheol. In Luke 16, we see that good part of Sheol is where Lazarus specifically is mentioned as going when he died. So finally Jesus arrives and Martha runs up to Jesus and is crying, she's hurting, and she says, "Lord, if only you'd been here, he wouldn't have died." Then Jesus says to her, "Your brother will rise again." So Martha responds saying like, "Yeah, I know he's going to rise in the resurrection on the last day. That's when all of us are going to rise from the resurrection on the last day." And then Jesus says something really beautiful. It's literally tattooed on my arm right there, John 11:25-27. I'm going to read it to you directly because it is beautiful. Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even if he dies. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this?" She said to him, "Yes, Lord. I have come to believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, he who has come into this world." So cool. After this, Martha goes away and goes and gets Mary. And Mary comes rushing to Jesus, and she is in tears. She is hurting so desperately from what just happened. And then we see something incredibly beautiful. This is the shortest verse in the entire Bible. It is John 11:35. It says, "Jesus wept." God in the flesh was sympathizing with us. He was empathizing with the emotions that people were having, and he cried with Mary. He knew exactly what he was going to do. He was about to bring him back. He knew everything was being okay, but he still saw how much one of his children were hurting, and he cried with her. And that is so beautiful. So they go to the tomb of Lazarus, and Jesus says, "Okay, move the stone away." And Martha gets kind of worried and kind of scared, and she says, "My Lord, no, like he's been dead for 4 days. That it is going to smell horrible." And then Jesus said to her, "Did I not say to you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" So they removed the stone, and Jesus raised his eyes and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. But I knew that you always hear me. Nevertheless, because of the people standing around, I said it so that they may believe that you sent me." And when he had said these things, he said with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out!" And immediately upon saying that, Lazarus, this guy who'd been dead for 4 days, walks out of the tomb. Now, he was still wrapped in like the dressings and the garments and everything that they would bury people in when he came out. So Jesus said, "Unbind him, let him go." So they went, they cleaned him off, and he came out. He was fine, he was alive. And because of this, there were many Jews who witnessed this, who believed that Jesus was in fact God. I hope this made sense. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, let me know what's next. Follow me on X. God bless.